Our topic is concepts of energy. The subject is basic science. Topic is concepts of energy. So let's define energy. Energy is the ability of a person or something to do work. Energy is the ability of a person or something to do work. When we talk of energy, people are seen being involved in one activity or the other all the time. You push a barrow with load, go to the stream to fetch water. A footballer kicks the ball, pushing a big lorry up a hill. For instance, if your car breaks down and you want to push it up a hill, driving a nail into a piece of wood. For a carpenter, normally see carpenters drive nail inside the wood. All these things are various activities that people are involved in. In this player hits the ball, lifting up a fallen car by a tow, van or jack, and so many other activities people do. Trekking, driving of vehicles, washing plates, sweeping the house. These are all what we get involved in every day. So when somebody is involved in activities that require strength, all these activities that we have mentioned, pushing of wheelbarrow, pushing the door. For instance, you come out from the vehicle, you open the vehicle, you come out, you close the door, go to your kitchen to wash plates, pulling a nail from a piece of wood, driving a nail into a piece of wood, fetching water, washing plates, sweeping the house, washing cars. These so many things. Whenever we see someone involved in these activities, it requires what? Strength. Someone that does not have energy cannot do all these things that we listed. Someone that does not have strength, for instance, someone that is sick, lying on the bed, as you are looking at the person does not have strength to do any of those things. That's why you always see a sick person lying on the bed. But for someone to get involved in activities, you require what? Strength. You require power. Not only strength, you also require the use of the brain. For instance, you know that it is your brain that will tell you that if I push this barrel, it will do what? It will move. If I push this car, it will do what? It will move. So all those things that we do that requires energy, that requires strength, that requires the use of the brain, the person is said to be doing some work. When someone is doing all these things that we mentioned, we say that the person is doing some work. So that strength that you are using to perform those works is known as what? Energy. So that's why we describe energy as the ability of a person or something to do work. The power needed to do work. The power needed to, sweep the floor, fetch water, go to the stream or to the borehole to fetch water, push vehicle, push wheelbarrow, go to the farm, you plant, you cultivate. You need strength for all these things. So that strength you are using to perform all these activities are known as what? Is known as energy. So when we talk of energy, it is the ability to do work, ability of a person or thing to do work. It is the enablement to produce work. Now, energy exists in various forms. We have different forms of energy. Different forms of energy are needed to make life more enjoyable on earth. If there is no energy, if there is no strength, if there is no force, if there is no power for us to do things, who will cultivate? If everyone does not have strength, who will go to the farm to cultivate, to farm, to bring those farm produce to the market, to sell, and then we'll buy it? If there is no energy, life will not be enjoyable. So for life to be enjoyable, we need what? Energy. And we have different forms of energy. And I listed some of them here. We have the electrical energy, we have the chemical energy, mechanical energy, heat energy, sound energy, light energy, solar energy, wind energy, water energy, and so on and so forth. These are different forms of energy. So when we talk of different forms of energy, cars move about with their load because of the energy in the engine. We cook our food with the energy from the fire, firewood, coal, kerosene, gas, and electricity. Lighting of our homes, school, hospital, factories, and offices is possible because of electrical energy. So, as I said earlier, these are different forms of energy. In our next class, we are going to explain each energy one after the other. For today, we are limiting our study to what? Concept of energy, definition of energy, and forms of energy. In our next class, we shall explain different forms of energy in details. So, as I said earlier, that energy is the ability of a person or something to do work. And we also said that we have different forms of energy. Energy can exist in different forms. It can exist in electrical energy, that is, as we're looking at this bulb in this classroom, we are able to see this bulb is functions as a result of what? The electrical energy inside the bulb. Chemical energy, mechanical energy, heat energy, sound energy, light energy, solar energy, wind energy, and water energy. So these are the different forms of energy which we shall look at in details in our next class. So we will write this, we copy the notes, and then we do the performance assessment, define energy, and list 5 forms of energy. So this is our social studies, and my topic is characteristics of drug abusers. Characteristics of drug abusers. In our previous classes, 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, even last week, we have been looking at the concept of drug abuse. We defined drug abuse. So that drug abuse is when we use drug in a wrong way, in a wrong manner. When you use drugs in a way that is not the doctor that prescribed it, you are said to do what? To abuse drugs. In our last week, we also looked at effects of drug abuse. When you abuse drugs, what are the effects? We said we have social effects, economic effects, and health effects. And we mentioned some of the effects as well. Loss of control. When you see someone that is abusing drug, you see that the person lose control and balance. It staggers when you fall. Inability to cope with school activities. We said in our last lesson that a drug abuser, someone that is abusing drugs, will find it difficult to cope with school activities because he's always on drugs, taking alcohol, smoking cigarettes. He won't be able to cope in the classroom, he'll be coming last in the class, and as a result of that, he may be sent out of school. Another effect of drug abuse that we looked at last week was what? Health problems. Someone that is abusing drugs will develop health problems, kidney problems, liver problems as a result of what? Drug abuse. We also said that drug abuse leads to what? Financial problems. When someone that is abusing drugs finds it difficult to source for money to buy those drugs, and he can't find because he has always been borrowing, and now no one is here to lend him money. What will he do? He will resort to what? Armed robbery, kidnapping. Why? In order to raise money to buy drugs. Addiction, even death. As we see, smokers are liable to die young. That is what we are doing. So this was what we learned, we looked at last week. That is the social, economic, and health effect of drug abuse. So today we are looking at characteristics of drug abusers. Drug abusers. So it is not difficult to know people who abuse drugs. How will you know? How can you identify a person that abuses drugs. How will you know the person? There are some certain things that you will see in the life of someone and you say, yes, this person is a drug addict, is a drug abuser. They can easily be recognized by their strange appearances, behaviors and speeches. How will you know that someone is a drug addict? By the appearance of that person. See how the person appears, how tata the person dresses. The person will look so unkempt. Even behaviors, even speeches. When the person is behaving, the person is acting, you know that this guy is not normal. Or when the person opens the mouth and talk, you know that through his speech, through her speech, you will know that this person is a drug addict. Now let us look at it one after the other. Characteristics of drug abuser. The first one is what? Aggressiveness. Aggressiveness. So when we say that someone is aggressive, what do we mean? An aggressive person is someone who is easily provoked. When someone is easily provoked, you refer to the person as what? As an aggressive somebody, as an aggressive man. Just a little thing that you will say, he will flare up, he will want to fight, can even break a bottle to break somebody's head. Always easily provoked. What you will say that does not warrant him to be angry, he will grow easily what? Annoyed. So, a drug abuser is an aggressive person. He gets angry easily. A drug abuser gets angry easily. So when you see someone that gets angry easily without provocation, that is one characteristic of what? You will know that this person may be a drug addict. And this aggressive person does not listen to people's explanation. Even when you are trying to explain to him, well, what I said, I'm just saying it, I don't really mean it, I'm just being friendly, I'm just joking. He doesn't want to listen to your explanation. He sticks to his own argument and is ready to fight if his point is not taken. Maybe he goes to a meeting and everybody is contributing. He will want his own contribution to be taken. Do what I said, and he's not ready to listen to anybody's point. He's not ready to listen to anybody's explanation. He can fight, he can even break bottle and break somebody's head. So this is one of the characteristics of drug abuse: aggressiveness, easily provoked. Another characteristic is what? Slow speech. Slow speech. A drunk person will not be fluent in speech. When you see someone that is slow in speech, someone that is speaking normally, he talks like a normal human being. All of a sudden, he changed his speech. The pattern of speech changed. He now speak what? Slowly. He's no longer fluent in speech. He will turn to an artificial stammerer. You know, a stammerer is someone that is not fluent in speaking. You used to know him as someone that speaks fluently. All of a sudden, he has turned to a stammerer. He now speaks slowly. He now draws his word. That is one characteristic of a drug abuser. Another characteristic is what? Undue excitement. Undue excitement. What do I mean? They feel unnecessarily happy even where they are supposed to show sign of sadness. For instance, someone that is a drug addict comes to a place where someone died. You know, when you go to a place where someone died, you'll be sober. Everyone have a mournful look. Everyone is sad. Everyone is sorrowful. But you will see this drug abuser. He will come in there. He will start what? He will start laughing. Everyone is sad in a somber mood. You will be laughing. You will turn to this person and laugh. You turn to that person and laugh. People will be looking at him. Is this person normal? Yes, someone just died and he's what? Happy. Unnecessarily happy. Even where they are supposed to show some sadness or do excitement, you know that that person is a drug addict. Another characteristic is what? Bad odor. Bad odor. Just like tobacco abusers, drug addicts, they smell badly. Cannabis abusers, those people that take it, cannabis is evil. Cannabis abusers smell what? Badly. When you go close to cannabis smoker, when you stay close to him in the bus, or you stand close to him at the bus stop, or you stay close to him in the church, he smells what? Badly. The smell of the evil that is oozing out from his nostrils smell bad. You cannot sit near him. So when you see someone that smells badly, the person is a drug abuser. Another characteristic is what? Dirty teeth. Dirty teeth. Their teeth are always dirty and sometimes black. When you see someone that is smoking cannabis, that smokes cigarette, that drinks alcohol, the person's teeth are always what? Dirty and sometimes black. So when you notice that someone's teeth is dirty and black, it is one of the signs that this person is a drug addict, is a drug abuser. Another characteristic is what? Lack of appetite. Lack of appetite. Lack of appetite means lack of feeling for hunger. When you are hungry, you go and eat food. But a drug addict, even when he is hungry, he cannot eat because the cigarette he smokes, the alcohol he drinks has done what? Has seized his appetite. So a drug abuser lack what? Appetite. The person will not like to eat. Even if he sees food, he will not like to eat the food. What comes to his mind is, give me alcohol, give me cigar to smoke, give me ogogoro to drink, give me kai kai to drink. That is what, even though his stomach yearns for food, but because of the drug that normally take that have taken over him, he don't like to see what he lacks appetite. He wants to eat, but he cannot eat. Another one is what? Burnt finger. Burnt finger. That is one of the characteristics. Tobacco smokers oftentimes get their fingers burnt. Of course, their fingers often get burnt because it is their fingers that they use in what? In holding the cigarette that they light up with fire. And sometimes their fingers get burnt. So when you see someone that the fingers are burnt, it is a sign that the person is a smoker, a heavy smoker, burnt finger. Another characteristic is what? Discoloration of lips. Discoloration of lips. Our lips is supposed to be pink. That is how God created us, for our lips to be what? Pink. But if you see someone that smokes tobacco, that is the lips of a tobacco smoker, they are usually what? Dark. Because he have used smoke to do what? To damage his lips. So whenever you see someone that the lips is no longer pink in color, the lips is now dark, black, know that person is a tobacco smoker, is a drug abuser, discoloration of the lips. Another one is what? Lack of balance. Lack of balance. So people who abuse alcohol will always stagger on the road. You see someone that is staggering on the road, walking as he can even fall into a gutter, and even fall into a ditch in the main road. Staggering is not walking straight. You know that the person is an alcohol taker. So their hands and body will be shaking. They will not be able to maintain their balance. So these and many more are what? The characteristics of drug abusers. You say that drug abusers are aggressive, their speech is low, undue excitement, bad odor, dirty teeth, lack of appetite, burnt finger, discoloration of lips, lack of balance. So these and many more are characteristics of drug abusers. So when you see someone exhibiting some of these or all of these characteristics, know that the person is a drug abuser. So I'm going to copy the notes and then you do the performance assessment. Outline 5 characteristics of drug abusers. Outline 5 characteristics of drug abusers. So we are in physical and health education. Physical and health education, that is PhD. And our topic is pathogen. Pathogen, that's our topic. So let us define pathogen. Pathogens are groups of microorganisms which have the ability of entering into the body of human being and cause disease in him. Pathogens, when enter into the body of a person, enters into our body with depending on the immune system. So what are we talking about? The pathogens are a group of microorganisms which have the ability of entering into our body and cause disease in us. And these pathogens we are talking about, they are a group of microorganisms. Why do we say that they are microorganisms? It means that you cannot be able to see it with your naked eyes. It is so small and tiny that you cannot see it with your eyes. You can only see it with the aid of a microscope. You can't see it with our eyes. You only see it with what? Microscope. When you use the microscope to look at it, that is when you see it. So these pathogens, we can't see it with our eyes. But if it enters your body, it can cause you diseases. It can cause ill health in us. Now, let us look at types of pathogens. We have number one, bacteria. We have what? Bacteria. So bacterial pathogens are those bacteria that can cause diseases in the person. They can be seen with the help of a microscope. As I said earlier, bacteria is one of the pathogens. It is one of the diseases that enters into somebody's body and cause the person ill health. So what are the diseases that these bacteria can cause us? The first one is Staphylococcus. The next one is Clostridium. These are pathogens. These are examples of pathogens, but we call them what? Bacteria. When it gets to your body, you start suffering, or that you go to the hospital, doctor after examining you will tell you that you are suffering of what? Staphylococcus. It was because this bacteria entered into your body, and this bacteria is a pathogen. Another type of pathogen is virus. Virus is an example of pathogen. Examples of virus pathogens are polio. When someone is suffering of polio, we don't have much of them in our southeast. When you go to the north, that is where you see children suffering of what? Polio. It affects the leg, and it is virus. HIV that caused AIDS. You know that HIV stands for human immune virus. And when this human immune virus gets into your body, the person starts suffering of what? AIDS, AIDS, acquired immune deficiency syndrome. So the virus that causes AIDS is a pathogen. So another virus that gets into our body is measles, bird flu, swine flu, and so on. So when you are suffering of measles, you should know that the virus has entered into your body. That virus is a pathogen. Bird flu affects chickens. Sometimes most chickens will be dying because of what? Bird flu, swine flu, and so on. Another type of pathogen is what? Fungi. Fungi. What are fungi? Fungi are a group of microorganisms that grow as mound on stale food materials. For instance, you made garri to eat and you didn't finish it that day. You leave the garri for 2 or 3 days. By the time you bring out that garri again, you find out that there are some whitish thing that is now settling on top of the garri, or even bread or cake. So whenever you bring out your bread, maybe the bread has stayed for long, and you bring it out to eat, and you notice that there are something that looks like foam on top of it. It is whitish. That thing is called what? Fungi. And this fungi can cause disease in urinary tract. When you did not throw away that garri or that bread, you still went on to eat the bread that had been attacked by fungi. What will that fungi do to your body? It can cause diseases in your urinary tract. Maybe when you are eating yourself, or when you are peeing, what will happen? You may discover that you have started having what? Pains. This fungi can also cause disease on the skin of man. Example, Candida albicans. All these are scientific word for what? Diseases that are caused by fungi. Another type of pathogen is protozoa. Protozoa. This is a very small pathogen, a very small microorganism that can only be seen with the aid of a microscope. So diseases and illness come as a result of the activities of the pathogens in our body. So whenever you are sick, you are ill, know that one of these pathogens have entered your body. It's either the bacteria or virus, fungi, protozoa. Any of these have entered your body, and that's why you are what? Sick. So we have defined pathogens as group of microorganisms which have the ability of entering into the body of a human being and cause disease in him. And we said we have types of pathogens. We have bacteria, we have virus, we have fungi, we have protozoa. So you copy the notes and then you. Alright. So last week, okay, this is our agriculture and our topic is planting operations. Planting operations. Last week, if you recall, we looked at cultural practices for growing plants. Cultural practices for growing plants. And we said that cultural practices means the important farming practices that are common to our people. Important common practices that are common to our people. Important farming practices. Things that you do before you start planting, during planting, and after planting. They are called both cultural practices. And we say that these practices are grouped into three. We have the planting, the actual planting, and the post-planting operations. These are the three things that are called what? Cultural practices for growing crop. Any crop that you want to grow, you have to follow these three methods, these three procedures. And last week we looked at pre-planting operations, and we said that pre-planting operations are certain farming practices that must be carried out first in order to have a successful farming operations. Things that you have to do first of all, you carry them out first. Why? So as to have successful farming operations. And what are those pre-planting operations? We said that choice of farm sites. Before you start planting, you have to choose the farm. You have to select a good farmland. After selection of the farmland, you start clearing and stumping, because when you chose that farm, you can see that there are trees, there are grasses everywhere. So after selecting the farm, you have to clear the farm. You have to pull out the trees, cut down the trees, then you till the ground. You have to till the ground so that the seed, whatever you want to plant, can do what? Can go deep down to the soil in order to germinate, making beds, ridges, mounds, and so many things that we discussed last week in our planting operations. Now you have made your farm good. You have tidied up your farm. You have tilled your farm. You have done harrowing. You have pulled out all the tree stumps. You have done so many things. Now it is now time for the actual planting, and that brings us to the second planting operations, which is what? Planting operations. So we have two types of planting operations. We have the planting and the nursery. We have the planting and the nursery. So when we talk of planting, what does it mean? Planting involves the opening of the soil with an object, dropping of seeds into the opening, and the covering of the openings with soil. When you want to plant, you want to plant any type of seed. You want to plant your vegetable or yam or potato or even cassava. Don't just drop them on top of the prepared ridge or on top of the prepared bed. What do? You use a stick or a glass or a hole, and you open the farm, you open the soil, and then you drop whatever you want to plant inside the soil, and then you cover it. And what type of seed do you plant? Only viable seeds are planted. What are viable seeds? Viable seeds are good seeds, large seeds, healthy seeds, seeds not stored for a long time. For instance, you want to plant maize or corn. You don't just go get any kind of seed, any kind of yam seedling, and you plant them. You have to make sure that whatever you want to plant is healthy, does not have any hole in it, have not been stored for a very long time. Why? So that you can have good harvest. So only viable seeds should be planted. Now, the next one is nursery. If you don't want to plant, you can do what is known as what? Nursery. What is nursery? Most of the vegetable seedlings are raised in the nursery before final transplanting into the main vegetable beds. For instance, those people that plant green, that plant tomato, that plant water leaf, they have to make what is known as nursery bed. It It is called nursery because that is not the permanent place where the seed will stay. Maybe the seed will just stay there for 2 or 3 weeks, and then it will be uprooted and transferred into the main farm. That's why it's called what? Nursery. You know that after nursery school, the next one is what? Primary school. Nursery school is not your final abode, it's not your final class. So the nursery is just for the main time, for 2 or 3 weeks, for the seed to grow up a little. And after it has grown up a little, the farmer will uproot them, bring them out, and then take them to the final farmland where they intend to plant. So, how do we prepare the bed, the nursery bed? The nursery bed must be well cultivated. Don't just say, see, this is nursery bed, I'm hardly telling you. Make sure that the nursery bed is well cultivated, heavily manured, and also well shaded. Make sure that the nursery bed is well cultivated, put a good manure, and then make sure that there is what? Shade. Making of shade means that you have to bring something and cover the nursery bed. Why? So that the sun rays will not kill the young seedlings. You have to make shade for it. Cover them. So how do we plant a nursery? Seeds are spread. For instance, you want to plant green. You want to spread the seedling, the green seedling on top of the farm, on top of the nursery, and then cover them with what? Little soil, just a little soil, so it can germinate immediately. Remember that that is not the final place. You intend to leave it there for some time and then put them and take them to permanent farm land. So we have looked at planting operations. So that planting operations involve 2 things: planting and what? Nursery. Planting involves opening of the soil and then dropping the seed and then covering the opening. While nursery is what? You spread the seed on top of the farmland and then cover it with little soil with the hope of uprooting them in 2 or 3 weeks to a permanent farmland. So these are the planting operations, planting and nursery. So you copy the notes and you give 2 planting operations. Civic education. Civic education, our topic is solution to the problems of traffic regulation. Solution to the problems of traffic regulation. Last week, if you recall, we looked at the problems of traffic regulations. Looked at the problems of traffic regulation. So that some of the problems include what? Ignorance. Some people that cannot, that they don't know the meaning of traffic signs that they see on the road. Bad roads, one of the problems. Bad vehicles. When the driver knows that the vehicle is not in good condition, he will still bring it out to drive, thereby risking the lives of people. Other problems that we look at: corrupt traffic policemen that will take bribe from traffic offenders and then allow them to go. Another problem we looked at is what? Illiteracy. Someone that cannot read or write is an illiterate. When such a person sees traffic light, traffic sign, he can't read out the sign, can't read out what is written on the traffic sign. So these are the problems that we looked at last week. So today, we want to look at ways we can solve those problems that we looked at last week. How can we solve them? So that is why we are looking at what? Solutions to the problems of traffic regulations. And one of the solutions is what? Regular maintenance of our roads. Regular maintenance of our roads. Since we said that one of the problems is with bad roads, government should try as much as they can to fix our bad roads. Those roads that are bad, that causes accident, government should do what? Fix them for us. Fill up those potholes, make our roads motorable. Then another solution is proper maintenance of our vehicles. We that are motorists, we should make sure that before we drive our vehicles out, before we bring our vehicle out to the main road, we should make sure that our vehicle is in good working condition. If your vehicle is not good, make sure you take them to the mechanic to have them fixed. Another solution is all offenders of traffic regulation should be penalized. When someone that breaks traffic regulation is caught, he or she should not be left alone. He or she should not be say, oh yeah, you can go. No. such person should be penalized. Take the person to where? To the court, to mobile court. The person should be judged, and then if the person is guilty, the person should be jailed or be fined. As someone that if road offenders, when they are fined or they are jailed, others will learn their lessons. They won't do such thing again. So another solution is people being informed about the importance of obeying traffic regulations. People should be informed. People should be alerted on the importance of obeying traffic regulations from the television, radio. The government should do that to educate people on what dangers of misusing the road and the importance of obeying traffic regulations. Another solution is traffic officials should be committed to discharging their duties. As we said earlier, and we said last week, that one of our problems is traffic officials collecting bribe from road offenders and allowing them to go. So when such traffic officials, when they are committed to their duties, all those people that they call, they should not let them go. They should make sure that they take them to mobile courts or courts where those people will be charged. So they should be committed to discharging their duties. They should do their duties well, not looking at faces. Another solution is formal education for all citizens, so that they will be able to contribute to the development of the society. Remember we said last week that one of the problems is what? Illiteracy. Illiteracy is when someone is not able to read or write. So if the person sees road signs, he cannot be able to read it. But when the person goes to school and gets education, the person will be able to read and write. The person can be able to read road traffic signs. So everybody should get educated so that we can all contribute to the development of our country. So we have looked at solutions to the problems of traffic regulations: regular maintenance of our roads, proper maintenance of vehicles. All offenders of traffic regulations should be penalized. People being informed about the importance of obeying traffic regulations. Traffic officials should be committed to discharging their duties, and everybody getting formal educations. So you copy and then do the performance assessment. State 3 solutions to the problems of traffic regulation.